Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined as always by the man who has never licked my vanilla slice. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
It's not for the want of trying, I can tell you, listeners.
But you do like it when I wear those things.
I do, yeah. I bet you look lovely in them. I'm okay. I'm kind of coming out. I've had a bit of a short cold. And I started to feel a wee bit ropey on Thursday night after playing tennis. A little bit sort of chilly and, a bit sensitive to temperature. Slept, felt okay on Friday. Got through Friday. We went out for a few drinks on Friday night to see off a colleague. And then, sort of Saturday and Sunday I was a bit sniffly. So my throat's a little dry. I may have to go and refill my water a few times because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, obviously. But I'm fine. I'm good. I'm all right. I haven't let it slow me down. I am. Being a brave boy.
Brave boy. That's wonderful to hear. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you've been feeling unwell, but I'm glad to hear you're on the mend.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's that time of the year, isn't it? School's back.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's funny. I woke up this morning. I thought my throat was a bit scratchy, and I thought, well, it felt like I'd been at a concert last night or something and been shouting or singing along, but I was like, nah. So I went to an open mic comedy night, but I was just on my own, a few laughs, but nothing that was shouting or anything. So yeah, it was very strange. Don't know, but I feel okay otherwise.
Were you doing some shouting at the wrestling on Friday night?
Yeah, a little bit of shouting, nothing too much, but yeah, did a little bit of shouting. Got a good they got a good chant going towards the end of "Suck His Dick," which was quite good to have the Dutch crowd chanting that. Yeah. But, it was very good. It was very exciting.
It's like you travelled back to the Attitude Era in the WWE.
It was, and I think some of the wrestlers probably, there was a couple that were modelled on effectively stuff pre-Attitude Era, so it was very good actually. But yeah, it was kind of being transported back.
Did we ever mention on the podcast about our mutual friend? Perhaps, and you and I have known him for a long time. This might be the coolest thing he's ever done, but managing to get you a little message from Brutus the Barber Beefcake on your birthday because he ran in. So our mutual friend listeners is a member of a sort of, would you call it, Star Wars club, where they dress up in movie accurate costumes and they go to comic cons and they do good stuff. They raise money usually for local charities and things and whatnot, and they get photographs taken with the kids and things. But he managed to get, that was around about your birthday, wasn't it? And he managed to get Brutus the Barber, who was doing some signing at the con in Aberdeen, I think it was, to give you a little birthday. It's amazing.
I know.
Young Nicky must have been up to high dough with a little dedication like that, surely.
Oh, he was. I can't remember. I think it was like I felt really bad because I think it was like the day after my birthday or something. It was a Sunday. I remember because my girlfriend took me away to Bruges for my birthday as a surprise.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we came back on the Sunday and we basically got back in the afternoon, went to the supermarket, got some food, cooked it and just crashed because we were shattered. And had sent it, our mutual friend had sent it that evening, and I didn't even look at my phone until I think the next day, and I saw it, and I felt a bit bad about that. But yeah, no, it was lovely. It was a lovely little gift, a little hello from Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Yeah, Ali from Scots Way Hayes met our mutual friend because he was with us, and we met up with Ali in Glasgow last summer for a few beers.
Yes, so, he has.
Whenever we mention a mutual friend, Ali knows exactly who we're talking about.
Yeah, I think a few people know exactly who we're talking about.
Exactly. He's a good egg.
He's a very good egg. I love him to bits. Okay, right. Well, shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last few days, Greg?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, what have you seen in the newspapers from Scotland over the last couple of weeks that you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
Well, we're just obviously discussing a wrestling superstar from the golden age of WF as it was back then. My first story concerns a superstar of the what age would you say? What would you call the age of Dave Bautista at WF?
He was kind of he was tail end of Attitude Era. I don't know, kind of the reality era, Ruthless Aggression.
Okay.
He was part of Ruthless Aggression.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this story comes from the Daily Record at the weekend just gone, 21st of September. And it's actor Dave Bautista says filming in Scotland was an absolute must ahead of the Highlander reboot. The Marvel actor, of course, Dave plays Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy films, will play Highlander's iconic bad guy, the Kurgan, in the remake of the 1980s cult classic, alongside ex-Superman star Henry Cavill. He's told, Bautista that is, has told how filming in Scotland was a must for him as he prepares to take on his dream role in the Highlander reboot. Frenchman Christophe Lambert played the Highlander in the 1986 original with Big Tam himself, Sir Sean Connery, appearing as his mentor Ramirez, as well as Clancy Brown in the role of the immortal evil Kurgan. We have covered the Highlander film, the original one, on the pod. If you go back to 2021, possibly even late 2020, but it was early days. But we had a good time chatting about it, as I recall. You can. Bautista, a former WWE wrestler, is best known for his role of Drax in the Marvel series Guardians of the Galaxy, but the American says it has been a dream to play the Kurgan, and he was clear that for the movie's battle scenes to look authentic, filming had to take place in the Highlands of Scotland. Speaking exclusively to the Sunday Mail, Bautista, who I was quite surprised to see is 56. I thought that him and I were a bit closer in age than that, to be honest. I don't know what I found out today that fucking shocked me. Just going a tangent a little bit. You know Terry Christian, who used to present The Word?
Yeah.
He's 65 now, Terry Christian.
I guess that would be right, yeah.
But I don't, so it must have been when he was presenting The Word, he must have been like 35.
Yeah.
If I'd known that, I might not have been so invested. It's supposed to be youth television. Anyway, I do like Terry Christian. Speaking exclusively to the Sunday Mail, Bautista, 56, said, "I know we have heard actors say, I have wanted to play this role my whole life, but honestly, I have wanted to play this role my whole life. I know in this era, there's all sorts of technology to make it appear that you're filming somewhere you aren't, but for me, it's all about being authentic, and that's why we had to film in Scotland. The battle scenes are going to be incredible, some of the best I think audiences will have seen. You add that to the backdrops of the Scottish Highlands, and we're going to end up with something that is visually stunning." Bautista will be rejoined by Inverness-born actor Karen Gillan, who played Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. Gillan will appear in Highlander as Heather, the wife and love interest of Connor MacLeod. Bautista has nothing but praise for his co-star. He said, "I cannot wait to start working with Karen again. She is such a talent." Oh, that's it. So do you think Bautista will be a good Kurgan?
Yeah, I think he will be. He won't be as good as Clancy Brown, I'm sure, but yeah, I think he will be a very good Kurgan. It's good casting. How do you feel about this new Highlander film?
Well, the thing about the original Highlander film is, it's part of its charm is it's sort of 80s aesthetic, right? It's sort of like the Highlands of Scotland as imagined by like a music video director, and it's all quite stylish and but I think like the story is pretty cool, like the sort of universe. Like I think they sort of lost their way with it in the sequels. It all went a bit wrong in the sequels, I think. But the original film, it's a great sort of premise that they set up, I think. And it does lend itself to, I think, I never really watched the TV series because, I don't know, Sean Connery wasn't in it, Christophe Lambert wasn't in it, I wasn't really that interested in it. But I think it's quite well regarded, the TV series. And I think it does build out the universe. Because one of the good things about the movie is the sort of flashbacks that he has to like the kind of Regency age when he has the duel with the guy, and when he finds the girl in the bomb site during the war and all that kind of stuff, and I think the TV series did a lot more of that kind of thing with the protagonist there. But yeah, I'll go and see it. I like Bautista, and he does, he's in Dune. I'm not a big fan of those Dune films, but he does play maybe a bit of a Kurgan adjacent sort of character in June, and he's very good, and he's brilliant as Drax. You know what I mean? He's really, really, it's a really charming, funny performance that he gives, and it just gets better and better as the movies, his appearances go on, you know. So no, I think it'll be good. And I like Cavill, to be honest. I've always quite liked him as an actor. I'd be interested to hear his Scottish accent.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the stumbling, that's the potential pitfall there. But and maybe they'll do a bit more with the character of Heather if they're getting somebody like Karen Gillan in to play the part, right?
Yeah, you would hope so. I think so. I mean, there's definitely scope for it there. And it depends how they're going to do things. You know, I'd imagine there will be, if it's a straight remake, but there will be some reimagining elements, I'm sure. So, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big fan of Bautista as well. Like, I think when I got back into watching wrestling, he was quite prominent, and I really liked him. He was in like a tag team with Rey Mysterio, like the difference in size, but then he turned heel, and it was really so I was really pleased when he kind of moved on and started doing like the Guardians films, and then kind of didn't know where his career was going, because he did do a couple of dodgy, you know, like there's the one where he's in like a football stadium in the UK, I think it's West Ham Stadium, and he's like, it's called like Final Score or something, there's like a bomb in a football or something.
I guess that's straight to video deal.
It was. He did a couple of those, but then he's now kind of transitioned, and I think, you know, I think with working with Denis Villeneuve so much has really helped him as well. And I wonder, because of course he's already been in a Bond film, and now basically a director he's worked with, you know, under his last 3 pictures is now in charge of the next Bond film. But can they they brought Jaws back. I don't remember if Bautista dies in...
Yes, they chuck him out a train window, don't they? A bit like what they did with Jaws and The Spy Who Loved Me, and they brought him back for Moonraker. I mean, that's... But yeah, like, to your point, he's worked... Because the thing I was thinking, you know, like, when we were kids, wrestlers going in, they probably the most endearing performance of a wrestler in a film from when we were kids is probably Jesse Ventura in The Predator, and he's kind of just playing himself. Do you know what I mean? Like, the movies that Hogan did were always a bit shit, and he wasn't like a great actor, Hogan. He had a great presence because he was a big, massive, hard guy. But when you see wrestlers now, that they're also good actors. Like John Cena is probably the best example of it. I've been watching the new Peacemaker series, and he's fucking great in it, and he's carrying that series, you know. And like Ricky Stenicki was good in that, and he was good in that Trainwreck movie with Amy, what's her name, the blonde, you know who I'm talking about.
Not Polar,
not Polar. Schumer, yeah, I quite liked that, and he was good in that as well, you know what I mean? So you know, I think it's not just like, oh, you know, Mr. Hogan will pay you $1 million if you'll dress up as a suburban commando alien guy in this kids film. It's, you know, these guys want to like sort of show off their acting chops as well, you know.
One of the best reference early examples that we have, of course, is Rowdy Roddy Piper in They Live.
Yeah. I mean, but that's a great film. I wouldn't say that he's great in it, though, you know.
No.
But it's Jesse Ventura. I mean, I remember watching on this SummerSlam 88, there's a flashback to, I think it's maybe Rick Rude giving Brutus the Barber a haircut one night on WF Superstars or something like that, and he like, you know, like the Brutus's head's all cut and stuff. And I remember Jesse Ventura saying, "No, to quote my character in Predator, it's payback time, gorilla." So he's obviously like, I think he did a little bit more acting, not necessarily action film acting. Jesse Ventura, I think he's done a couple of actual sort of straight roles and stuff. I think he's actually probably pretty good, but I mean, he definitely fucking dines out on that Predator appearance, you know.
Of course he does. Oh, well, the new Highlander film will be covering. I'm sure we'll be covering that on the Swally once it's out.
But definitely will, yeah. Anyway, so now that we've built all that anticipation for free, as usual, what's your first story this week?
My first story comes from the Scottish Sun this week, Greg, and the headline is Bottle Bandits. Underage drinkers nicking boozy tributes from Scots graveyard to get drunk. A council has urged people not to leave boozy tributes at graves after youngsters were stealing them to get drunk. Relatives and pals across Angus have been leaving their departed loved ones' favourite bevies at their final resting place. But the touching trend has been hijacked by underage drinkers. Kids looking for an easy way to get their hands on drink have been stealing bottles from the graves and gulping down the contents. It's making it sound like it's fizzy pop. Angus Council has now urged people to stop leaving alcohol at graves, as they are proving an easy way for youngsters to get their hands on alcohol. They said they've seen multiple incidents involving the hijacked hooch on weekends. Cemetery staff have now been forced to patrol the sacred sites to take away any bottles or cans left behind. They shared an image of one such tribute, where one grave had a bottle of Budweiser and a bottle of Smirnoff vodka left on it. A council spokesperson said, "We all like to remember and pay tribute to our loved ones who have passed away in different ways. However, we have to remind visitors to our cemeteries that you cannot leave cans or bottles of alcoholic drinks on gravestones." In the past few weeks, we've had incidents where children have removed the bottles and have drunk the contents. Our staff regularly remove alcoholic drinks and store them for collection again. However, we have no staff working on a weekend when the incidents occurred. Edinburgh Council was forced to close cemeteries because of youngsters holding parties in them. The new Carlton Burial Ground and Old Carlton Cemetery have been used for so-called cave raves. The grim trend has seen crowds of youths get drunk, take drugs, and hurl abuse at passers-by. Sounds like a great party. It forced bosses to close down the graveyards at night. So they were partying at cave raves with underage drinking, drug taking, and abuse to public visitors. So, Greg, leaving alcohol on a grave is seen as a tribute. There's a current trend for this in Scotland, but kids are nicking it and getting drunk.
I mean, it sounds like a fucking stupid thing
to
do. To leave a full bottle of booze on a... I mean, what do they think is going to happen? Do they think, like, the departed is going to come fucking bursting out of the fucking ground and, like, start knocking back a bottle of Smirnoff or a bottle of vodka? Do you know what I mean? It's like a fucking waste of time. And then if the cemetery staff collect all these bottles of full alcohol, and the guy said, you know, the cemetery staff collect them for collection, who collects them? Where do they go?
Well, it's, I'd imagine they're disposed of, Greg, in a safe manner, I'm sure. And that'll be the cemetery's Christmas party sorted.
Disposed of in a responsible manner.
It does show Scotland, though. It's a fitting tribute. Oh, it's been a year since we lost Maureen, isn't it? I'll go down and put some flowers on her grave to commemorate. Oh, actually, she loved a voddy, didn't Maureen? Oh, I'll get a wee bottle of Smirnoff instead and put that on the grave. Like, who thinks that? Like, I know. You know, it's an appropriate tribute.
I know. Like, flowers make sense because they're a nice tribute and they're also perishable. So, you know, but like, and like, so sometimes if it's like a little kid or something that's passed away, sometimes people leave sort of like soft toys and stuff on the grave. You know, like, you know, like, I know where you're coming from, but it's got to think about the environment as well.
Yeah.
You've got to think about the world for the kids when they grow up that are still alive, you know what I mean?
Well, those kids are helping themselves to the booze that's in the graveyards and having rave caves on it. I mean, a graveyard was always a decent place to go for drinking on a weeknight, a weekend night. Anyway, there wasn't it? I mean, we had like a graveyard down like Craigie Buckler way that we would do there, go and drinking on an evening. Yeah,
I don't think I've ever done that, to be honest. I don't think I've ever done that. In fact, I've never done that. I've never had a swally in a graveyard or a cemetery. I think I popped in for a ciggy or something once or twice just to hide my mother, but I don't think I've ever... I remember Billy Connolly saying when he was visiting Glasgow once, years and years and years ago, he said that somebody shouted to him something like, "Hey, Big Ian, you're one of us. You've drank wine up the graveyard." And he said, "Never drank wine in a graveyard. I have shagged in a graveyard. I've never drank wine." Yeah, no, I mean, I know that. What's the graveyard on Union Street in Aberdeen? What's it called again? The one there.
I can't remember, but yeah, it's
next to Backwind, right? Like, I know that Aberdeen City Council have had issues with maybe not kids. I think they had issues with kids vandalising the cemetery, which is pretty fucking despicable. But I think they had more problems with like jakes sitting in there and getting pissed during the day and intimidating mourners. But then I don't think anybody had been planted in that graveyard for about 200 years, so probably not really getting any mourners these days. But I mean, I would sometimes think about cutting through there instead of walking up back wines, and I would usually like change my mind when I saw all the fucking Bucky Brigade all sitting in there getting hammered. I think actually I'll just go up back wind. I don't want to be intimidated by these threatening people.
No, very well. Safety first, Greg. Safety first. So that is the boozy tribute. It's not the kind of spirit you'd expect to find in a graveyard, but there we go.
I wonder if our mutual friends ever attended a cave rave, because he loves a
underage party.
Yeah. With decks. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He loves shit music. But I'll have to ask him next time I see him.
Yeah, ask him if he's been in any cave raves. I'm sure we'll find out. Anyway, what else have you seen this week, buddy?
So this is another boozy story. This comes from the Daily Record the other day, and it says tipsy man caught on Ring doorbell 50 times at 2 a.m. before being reminded that he'd moved house. So Cameron White and Katie Buchanan, who currently live in the house, were on holiday when they woke up to more than 50 Ring doorbell notifications. This before your man realised that he had turned up at his old house. There was a man in their garden at 2:39 a.m. trying to get into the house, and footage showed him frantically calling people because he couldn't find his keys. But after a phone call to his mum, he was reminded that the family had moved house in January and no longer live in the property he was trying to get into. The penny dropped when the man mentioned the conservatory, and his mum reminded them that their current home doesn't have one. Cameron and Katie said they were in hysterics watching the footage taken earlier this month. Cameron, an accountant from East Kilbride, said, "We were on holiday in Copenhagen at the time, so I had no idea this had happened until we woke up the next morning with 50 plus Ring notifications. We watched it all back, and he appeared in our garden at 2:39 a.m. trying to get in. He then proceeded to search our garden for 10 minutes before disappearing through our front door, and sat there for another hour before re-emerging in the back garden looking for the key again. He phoned his friends asking if they had his keys, and they were amazed that he wasn't home, as he had left the pub they'd been in over 3 hours prior to that. Eventually he got through to his mum, who was waiting to let him in, and she reminded him that they no longer had a conservatory. Yeah, that's a story. That's a story. That's brilliant. So, he moved house in January. So almost 9 months earlier.
Maybe he doesn't get out much, or, get out often. Maybe that's his first proper night out, and autopilot's kicked in, and then, off he goes home.
Possibly. Quite possibly. But, that really made me chuckle. Have you ever, I suppose you wouldn't do that, would you? You haven't moved house that often, I suppose, have you?
Nah, I've never even gone to, the wrong door, or, in a hotel even, gone to the wrong door. I always think I've got my wit about me. No, never been that kind of drunk or odd. What about you? Ever gone to the wrong door or done anything that?
Well, I've gone to the wrong door with you, actually, because I remember when I'd been in Glasgow for a couple of months, and you and our mutual friend, it's getting a lot of coverage tonight, came down to visit me, and we had been on the Friday night. I remember we were I was living in Dundrennan Roads in Langside, and we had been down at the shack for a few drinks, and we walked back up. And I think I was distracted by your Straight Outta Fuck the Police / Colourblind by Darius remix that you had made up. And
plus Jenny from the Block.
Plus Jenny from the Block. And I took us to the wrong door. Couldn't work out why my key wouldn't work. I hadn't lived there that long, and I was obviously beguiled by your musical mastery. But I have had to, I've got back to a hotel before after too much to drink, and I've had to ask reception to remind me what my room number was.
Okay.
Quite a few times. I had to do that actually this year.
Oh, okay.
I had to do that this year when I was in Cambridge. So I couldn't remember what what my room was. I had to ask them to remind me. But in my defence, I'd literally just got to the hotel, checked in, dumped my bag, and then go back out. So
That's okay. I'm sure that happens all the time. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean that hasn't always been a good excuse for forgetting my room number. Quite honest, but it was this last night.
But no, I've never thought about going on autopilot to somewhere else. I don't think it hasn't been a thing. I think my brain knows. But not being pished, obviously.
Yeah, your home and beacon usually serves you well, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, that was that really made me chuckle today, that story when I saw it. What's your next story this week?
My next story is from the Scottish Sun this week, Greg, and the headline is "Not as Happy as Larry." The Scheme. Do you remember the TV show The Scheme, Greg, which we're going to talk about probably in a minute?
I do, yeah.
Marvin from The Scheme, he was one of the stars. He was raging when he was booted out of a football stadium before kick-off last week.
Yeah.
He's a well-known Celtic fan, but attempted to watch the hoops from the rival's end when he couldn't get a ticket. But that backfired when he was clocked by stewards and escorted out about 10 minutes before the start. Marvin, 46, is not as happy as Larry about the incident and reckons he was treated differently because he's been on the telly. He said, "I'm a Celtic fan, but that's not the point. I wasn't wearing a Celtic top and I wasn't cheering Celtic on." Well, the game hadn't started yet, Marvin. "At the end of the day, I paid money to watch a game of football and was put out and not given a refund. They would never do that to most people, but because it's me, they feel as if they don't have to treat me the same. It's shocking." Marvin from Kilmarnock shot to fame on the controversial BBC reality show The Scheme. He revealed his family are all big Kilmarnock fans, but he's always supported Celtic. That's because he's a junkie. On Sunday,
And a glory hunter.
he headed along to the clash between Kilmarnock and Celtic at Rugby Park and filmed himself before he headed inside. He said, "I'm in a good mood today. Marvin from The Scheme, living the dream."
Living the dream in the wrong end of a fucking Kilmarnock Celtic tie.
"We'll get a laugh and see who wins. May the best team win." But in a video posted on his TikTok page, Marvin's smile disappears when he's approached by stewards. They tell him he has to leave and walk him out of the ground. One of the crew tell him to email the club and take it up with them. Marvin demands to speak to a manager, but is ultimately ejected. Celtic went on to win the game 2-1. But now Marvin has told fans he's complained and wants his money back because he did nothing wrong. He said, "Nobody around me was in the slightest bit bothered. I was just sitting waiting for the football to start. I could have supported any side. Imagine having the nerve to support the team my family raised me to support."
They're all Kelly fans, look.
Yeah. "I would see their point if I was being in any way antagonistic to the Kilmarnock fans, or if I was cheering and stuff. But I wasn't. I just wanted to enjoy a normal day out of football." Marvin's social media followers were split about the incident. One said, "Out of order. Get a complaint in." Another added, "This is absolutely crazy. I'm a Celtic fan and have sat in the Kilmarnock side, as most people do at games. Definitely take it further." But another follower said, "Why not think about it? Like, it could have been for your safety as well." And a critic added, "Why don't you buy a ticket for the Celtic end and then it wouldn't happen?" The Scheme focused on life in Kilmarnock's Knock-in-Law and On-Thank estates in 2010. Marvin and his dog Bullet were popular with viewers, but he struggled with addiction issues. He's now clean and determined to try and help others avoid making the same mistakes he has, like sitting in the wrong end at football. Kilmarnock FC have been approached for comment. So, I mean, first of all, hey, it happens, right? Away fans or home fans do sit in the wrong sections because they can't get a ticket. I've never done it myself. I do remember going to an Aberdeen game and it was a father and son sat like 2 seats away from me and we were playing Hearts. And when Hearts scored, they did like a little fist pump. And I was like, "Oh, you fucking cunts." We ended up winning 2-1. And as I walked past, I did go, "Ha ha." But it happens. And I guess it is for safety as well. But, you know, Kilmarnock against Celtic, it's not like you've got Rangers fans in there, you know, so to speak. So, but I guess it's a bit stupid being well known in Kilmarnock as a Celtic fan and then going into Kilmarnock's, you know, crowd. Yeah. Somebody's going to spot you.
That's probably why they chucked him out, right?
Yeah, because he'll be known to be a Celtic fan, so that's why. So he was obviously on the scheme, which we will probably never cover on the Culture Swally. And I mean, that was basically poverty porn, wasn't it? It was just about this sort of low-income housing scheme in Kilmarnock. And it was just kind of look at the junkies and people on benefits, and this is what happens.
I know, and there was other ones as well, wasn't there? There was like Benefit Street as well, which was the one they did in Birmingham. And I mean, I don't know, like I at the time, if I think about it, I think, with the benefit of age and hindsight, I don't know why you'd want to sort of turn. I don't know what the objective of shows like The Scheme would be, or Benefit Streets. Like, I suppose the producer would say, well, it's an opportunity for people to see how a community on the bottom rung of the ladder sort of navigate life. But what it sort of serves to do is to really kind of turn people against people like Marvin or the other people that were on the scheme, because they'll say, we're just paying for that Doug's dog food because he won't get a job, or we're just paying for his drugs or whatever. I don't think it's particularly useful to make those types of programs these days.
No, but yet here we are. 14 years later, I think.
15 years later.
still discussing Marvin from the scheme.
Yeah, well, he's the fact that he's still defending himself as Marvin from the scheme. Perhaps, I don't know. I mean, like, kind of fair play to him if he's really turned his life around and he's trying to help other addicts and stuff. Then good luck to him. You know what I mean? Pretty noble thing to do. I mean, I think probably he's been bounced out of Rugby Park for his own safety as much as anything else,
Yeah, so keep up the good work, Marvin, but sit in the right end next time, for God's sakes.
Yeah, we could really do with your team doing the business against Dundee United tonight, because like at the weekend there was a big far right anti-asylum seeker, anti-small boats fucking reform demonstration pish in Glasgow city centre, and there was a lot of Rangers strips, and I have to say, the photographs I saw, there was a lot of fucking Rangers strips, and the people, and it would serve those Rangers fans that turned up at that demonstration making their fucking Nazi salutes and their shitey pink fucking Rangers away zippers right if they ended up being at the bottom of the fucking table by the time the 90 minutes goes for Aberdeen tonight.
Yeah, probably won't happen, mate. I don't think. But
you need to give them a bell, Nicky, and say, look, there's more than just points at stake here. You know what I mean? You need to teach these people a lesson that karma will fucking give consequences to that type of divisive, right-wing, racist fucking behaviour. Mind you, they've been doing it for 100 years, and it hasn't so far set up, apart from when they went bankrupt and became a different club, I suppose.
Well, there we go. We'll see what happens this evening. Have you seen anything else this week, Greg?
No, I haven't.
Okay, wonderful. Right, well, before we go on to what we're going to be talking about today, let's have a little word from our sponsors.
Take a fresh approach to selling Christmas hampers. Be a Country Hamper agent and earn high commission selling from our exciting range of products, including our unique fresh hampers. For details, write to Country Hampers, Free Post, Kirkliston, West Lothian, or phone 031 333 3981 now.
Okay, so it was your choice this week for this week's episode, Nicky, so why don't you introduce this week's TV show?
Thank you very much, Greg. So today we are looking at the 2025 three-part Amazon Prime thriller starring Martin Compston, Anjali Mohindra, Solly McLeod, and James Cosmo, Fear. The show follows married couple Martin and Rebecca, who move their family from London to their dream home in Glasgow. But things quickly take a dark turn when their downstairs neighbour, Jan, makes their life a misery and pushes them to their limits, facing accusations that are every parent's worst nightmare. And with the authorities refusing to step in, Martin and Rebecca feel they have nowhere to turn to help apart from Cosmo. Filmed entirely in Glasgow. We first found out about this when James Cosmo himself told us about it, Greg, and we've been looking forward to covering it ever since. Also, we don't say this often, but since this show is only about 7-8 months old as we record, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's on Amazon Prime, because we will be spoiling this very much, okay? Right, so Greg, this was your first time watching Fear, was it?
It was my first time. It actually slipped from my memory. I'd been looking forward to it because obviously Cosmo's in it, and quite a meaty part for Cosmo as well. And like I quite enjoy watching Martin Compston as well. But you know, the fact, very Scottish, even the restaurant is like a real restaurant in Glasgow, like the Gannet and everything else, and it's, you know, it's some lovely architecture in the West End, like Park Circus and Kelvin Grove and all that kind of thing. So yeah, but I'd kind of forgotten about it because it actually wasn't. It's on Amazon Prime in the UK. It's not on Amazon Prime here, so I had to watch it through other means, unfortunately. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. It was really good. And like it kind of feels like it's going one way and then it kind of goes a bit of a different way, which is quite clever. And I quite enjoyed it, yeah. How about you? You'd watched it before, right?
I had, yeah. I watched it about 6 weeks ago. It'd been on my list for ages. And I had shown my girlfriend the trailer and we'd always said, oh yeah, we'll need to watch that. And I think it was like a Sunday night and it was about 20 past 9. And it was just that time of like, it's kind of too early just to go to bed. We're not that tired yet. I'd watch something else. And I was like, oh, let's watch the first episode of this and we'll see if it's any good. I'm stuck on fear. So yeah, we went to bed about 1 a.m. because we watched all 3. Because watched the first, it was like, well, we have to watch the second one now. And then, of course, it's like, well, we've only got one left. So, yeah, burned through it in a night and really enjoyed it. It was really good. I mean, there's a lot of talking points about this. And, you know, we need to go into motives and who we should actually feel sorry for and whatnot. But it is a gripping story and it does take you on different twists and turns and you're expecting one thing, then something else happens and you're other things you're not expecting. And yeah, it kind of keeps it going up until the end as well. Keeps you guessing. And it was a really entertaining a show, really entertaining to watch. And of course, Compson and Cosmo together, a good combination.
Yeah, no, they do play well together. And, you know, like, you do feel like Cosmo and Compston could be sort of father and son, although Cosmo's probably a wee bit too old to be Compston's son in reality, but Compton's got his big beard to make him look older, and I can tell you that's the only reason he has that beard is so he looks older, because when he takes it off, he still looks like the 16-year-old that first appeared in, or the 17-year-old that first appeared in Sweet 16, you know? There's not, you know, there's this, the sort of premise of this, I would say, is not necessarily an original premise. We've seen versions of this over the years in things like Pacific Heights or Single White Female and, you know, like some of the themes. But, you know, what I thought they do really well in this is, like, from the very moment that we meet the family, like Martin and Rebecca and the kids and stuff, there's, like, you know, the way that the angle that it's shot from, the music, the way we see them enter this amazing fucking house, by the way, in the West End of Glasgow. There's already a sort of dread kind of building, you know. You know, and I kind of roughly knew what the story was going to be, in as much as I knew there was going to be a bit of a stalkery neighbour, who kind of goes out his way to cause problems for the family. But I didn't know what his motives were going to be for doing that. You know, was he, you know, so. But there's all these shots where we just see the characters from outside the house, you know, or outside the building they're in. There's a couple when from Martin, and because Compson's character is Martin as well, although albeit spelled differently. We see him shot from outside his office that he's in, or outside the kitchen window, outside the living room window, and all that kind of thing. But with Jan, we never. Every time we see him, it's from inside his apartment. You know what I mean? It's really kind of well made, actually, in that sense. I thought it's almost like a art film, almost, you know. Oh,
it is. There's some wonderful shots that you have of, as you say, it's very up and down. You're kind of looking down at Jan, and he's looking up always at them. Very well done. And you're right. I didn't think about that, but yeah, Jan's always just pictured inside. Yeah. Apart from when he is out on the street,
or he goes to the laundrette to his landlord and all that, you know. And
yeah. He's in there. I mean, he is a very a misunderstood character. I mean, he's a bit of a creepy character. And it was the same as you. I knew the basic premise that it was a case of family moving to home. They're having problems with their neighbour. They have to get his dad sorted out. And that was as far as I knew, but I didn't know, the extent it goes into. So Jan effectively develops a bit of an obsession with Rebecca, Martin's wife. But I mean, the character of Jan, first of all, you're expecting a woman and they're expecting a woman because they have biscuits from Jan. And Martin even says at one point, oh, well, she lives downstairs. And then when we meet Jan, he's got the pizza and stuff. Now, would you eat biscuits that had just been posted through your letterbox, even if you knew it was from a neighbour?
Probably.
Oh, okay. All right.
Probably, yeah.
So I probably wouldn't. I was going to ask, would you have any issue with your kids having the pizza that a strange man has just appeared with? But probably not either then.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think my kids would have fallen on the pizza quite as willingly as the kids doing this. To be honest, they're a bit more that sort of North Atlantic natural Calvinist suspicion of everybody and everything. But yeah, I guess you sort of take people as you find them, right?
That's fair enough. So yeah, he sort of endears himself to the family really through food, because then when he goes round to visit Rebecca for the first time when she's on her own, he brings round lentil soup. And, she says, oh, you're a really good cook and stuff. But we discover that he's bought all this stuff and is doing, and that's the first indication you have of like, something's off with this. I mean, apart from the fact that he tells her she looks nice in her sweater.
I mean, like, if we start by looking at the characters, so we have Martin, played by Martin Compston, who is an architect. There's a suggestion that he might have overextended a wee bit by buying this beautiful old, either Victorian or Edwardian townhouse in the West End of Glasgow. He's kind of pinning his hopes on his design being selected for a new art centre that's being built in Glasgow city centre. But he's the character of Martin. And I did wonder if this, maybe it was just Compston perhaps maybe going for it a wee bit. But as I've reflected on it, I don't think we're supposed to root for him that much, because he's quite a sort of acerbic character, really. You know what I mean? And, he's sort of, he's got this weird relationship with his dad, because it turned out there was a sister who'd passed away of cancer, and Cosmo, who plays the dad, was going to turn up at the hospital and evidently shoot the doctor to death for not putting the late sister on this course of experimental medication, but there's also a feeling that he's a little bit ashamed of his family and the sort of class that they're coming from, because his father's like an ex-military guy. I think as far as we know, his mum, played by Maureen Beattie, just a housewife. Like, they don't really explore her character that much beyond her being the mum, and seems quite nice. And then the brother, played by Daniel Portman, he's the one who sort of calls Martin out. And the fact that that Brian and Martin are so opposite. Brian's he's a tattooist. He's a bit more, he still lives at home. He's a bit more bohemian, whereas Martin sort of sees himself as a social climber and everything. And yet Brian's evidently still very fond of his brother, even though his brother's a bit of a prick. And he kind of calls him out a couple of times and embarrasses him, particularly when they have the dinner party that he kind of turns up uninvited to. And even, Martin can't just relax because his appearances and how he's perceived, and maybe this guy's going to give him the contract to design his new laboratory and all this kind of thing, So it all makes Martin, because, I kind of felt when I was watching it, well, I should be feeling sorry for Martin now because Rebecca's left. She's taking the kids away because of the situation with Jan. But I kind of didn't feel sorry for him. I just thought, well, fucking serves you right, you prick. You know what I mean?
I've got written down in my notes, Martin's a total dick. And he really is. I did not like the character at all. He has anger issues because he flies off the handle at so many things. Yeah. And I just don't, as you say, he's obviously got a problem with his family. Now, his brother Brian is obviously still very close to mum and dad because he's, there, and he's obviously tells dad about things later on. So he's obviously close, but Martin has kind of taken himself out. And you're right, it's because he thinks he's better than them. And this house will signify, as his brother says, you could have bought 4 houses round here, for the cost of that one. Yeah. And it is very much it's the status thing. But as a character as a whole, he's just a total dick. He lies a couple of times to Rebecca to begin with. Like he lies about withdrawing the tender when he was rejected.
Yeah.
He's fucking good to himself as well. That happens, and then he goes and gets the taster menu and a glass of champagne for his lunch. Yeah. His wife and kids move out because of the psycho neighbour. I'll have a glass of Merlot and the pork and spinach, please. He's obviously very good to himself, but he lies to her about that. He lies to her when Jan makes a comment in the back garden, and he goes down and he says that, or is it's with the letter? It's with the letter, which we'll come back to. And he says, he apologised. He won't do it again. He never speaks to him. Yeah. So I get that he's lying to maybe make her feel better, but he's not. Then we have the whole scene at the bar in the hotel. Like, it's unclear if he was going to sleep with that woman, or if he was like kind of getting when she was saying, we'll meet up later, she was thinking about sex. He wasn't. I don't know. That's really unclear. But yeah.
I sort of felt like that was in service to his ego a bit there. Like, because the opportunity was there to say that, I'm married, flattered, try and let the lady down as gently as possible without hurting her feelings or whatever. But he doesn't do that. He's got like a big shit-eating grin on his face because he's essentially just been propositioned. But you're right, like it's not clear as to whether he'd gone through with it or not. And then obviously he ends up having to rush back to Glasgow because there's a crisis at home.
And then he tries to get ahead of things. So he's the one. Why in the name of fuck does he go to child services ahead of any complaints being made? Because, I guess we're skipping ahead there, but, it makes them look suspicious in terms of doing that. Of almost trying to get a head start. And that scene, the person taking his details is very suspicious of what's going on in this situation.
Yeah, that was a weird one, that, because I sort of saw it from his perspective there a wee bit, and I was quite surprised because, like, I've got written in my notes, like, children's services are, like, very unsympathetic, when he's... Like the lady that is that's taking his details, like she keeps giving him a sort of side eye, and I kind of thought, well, but then I suppose it's one of those, right? It's like, well, what do you do in that sort of situation? I suspect that this correct thing to do is to go to the police and say, look, this is, please do whatever you need to do from your side to prove that this isn't going on. We'll give you everything, all the access that you want to prove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you kind of feel that may have sort of settled it down a wee bit in terms of their concerns. But yeah, to your point, like, he doesn't really consult with Rebecca. He just goes straight ahead and starts making these calls and stuff, right? And that are a lot of which, particularly his last one at the end of the thing, turned out to be really poor judgment calls.
Yeah, I think, really, really stupid in terms of the character. And he leaves his laptop open a lot. Who the fuck does that? When you're putting your laptop down in a chair, you never leave it open, do you? Always close it.
My work laptop, I power completely down when I'm not using it. You know what I mean?
It's strange, really strange. But yeah, I didn't like the character of Martin. Obviously it was a great character in terms of, and it was good to see Compton in that kind of role. But yeah, I didn't like Martin at all. I wasn't rooting for him. Rebecca, 100% rooting for and behind her. Yeah. She seems lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, but even she, she's a bit quick, like, when he comes back, and I suppose he kind of does it to himself because he comes rushing back and she's like, oh, you're stinking of booze. Now, it's obviously at night. He could have said, yeah, well, we're having a couple of drinks after the thing. You know what I mean? But he says, oh, well, I only had one or two. You know what I mean? As we know that's not true because the suggestion is he sits at the bar for quite a long time. And he's also mingling with other people before that. So again, like, it's like what you said earlier, why tell a fucking stupid lie like that? Why not just be honest and say, yeah, look, I was sitting at the bar with some colleagues and we were having a couple of drinks before you called, and I've come straight home. You know what I mean? So, and I wonder if he'd said that, would she still have been so pissed off that he'd been tanning drams when she was going through this crisis, or would she have been, well, you know, he's rushed back to be here, you know, this, you know, and I don't know what I'm trying to think what my wife would have done. I think she'd have been a bit more reasonable.
Yeah, you would think so. You're right. I think it is a reasonable, but if he had explained himself properly, like, well, you know, I'm going to look for clients. I'm trying to socialize. I had a few drinks. Of course, it was that type of event. You know, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to know this was going to happen? But yeah, I can understand her. She's just had a horrific thing happen to her of being accused of terrible things in the street and police turning up. So she's traumatized. So I can see from her point, like, you know, why weren't you here? But obviously there was a reason he wasn't there. He was trying to drum up some work and sleep with a woman in 503.
I think, and again, that's the thing with him, you know, you're like, well, what are his motivations, you know, adjacent to what's going on with Jan down the stairs? Like, and what are his motivations as far as his career goes? Because there's clearly an ego there, right? He's had to, you know, we hear him turning down the conservatory job when he's in his new office. And he's in his new office on his own, right? Yeah. And you think, well, you got this big fucking house. Why would you take an office, which is clearly a walk away from where you live? Why not just set up one of the rooms in your big house? But he obviously, it's the status, it's the West End business address, the West End residential address. No, we don't do conservatories, you know. Oh, no, we do much bigger projects, blah, blah, blah. And then he has to eat a bit of humble pie when he realises that he's not getting the big job that he was bidding for. You know, it's all that kind of thing. It's like, you know, what is he motivated by? Like, he won't have his dad come to the house because he'd say, oh, my dad will just find something wrong with it. But there's nothing in Cosmo's performance that ever points to this hypercritical character. In fact, when we first see him and he's with the grandkids, he's a fucking brilliant granda. You know, apart from when he gets his guns out, so he sort of lets himself down a wee bit then. But before that, he's patient, he's having fun with the kids, you know, you get the feeling that he's just fucking delighted when these little kids are around, you know what I mean? And he gets to be granddad.
I can only presume, and obviously this is something they don't go into enough, I think, and it is a slight flaw in the show, because you're a bit confused in terms of this relationship with Cosmo and Martin, and you're kind of thinking, what are they falling out about? I mean, the only thing I could really ascertain is that, I guess, when Martin was younger, he was an excellent marksman and a great shooter. And I guess his dad was just so happy with this. But then he just decided to pack it in. So you get the impression, because Compton does say when he's with the grandkids, oh, your dad was very good, but he packed it in. But Corin, you know, she was you know, excellent. So then his focus has gone on Corin and focusing on her with the shooting. So Martin was probably cast aside, and always with a bit of a snidey, like, well, your sister's doing this, your sister's won this, you know, if only you'd kept it up. I know you had to go and play with dolls, or, you know, start drawing buildings or something.
Play with your Lego.
So I do think there's something that's happened there. But then, of course, when you see the flashback of Martin stopping Cosmo in the hospital with the gun, you know, he's still speaking to him like it's like, Dad, this isn't, you know, the right thing. It's almost then something's happened after that. He's like, I just want out. And he goes mental when Cosmo's showing the grandkids the gun. And I don't want them anywhere near. I don't want them fucking near guns. And like, well, you grew up around them. You know, so did your sister, and you've had a healthy kind of, well, you presume childhood. You know, it's not, maybe he associates it with the death of his sister and he still hasn't got on over that. He hasn't grieved properly. It's unclear for me what the situation is there.
I thought that he had moved away from guns when we see the flashback of the younger Cosmo, and he's just been turned down for a promotion in the army, and it's like he's thinking of shooting himself, and young Martin says, Dad, you know, don't. I thought there was a scene with him and Brian where he says, you know, that's what kind of put me off guns, was when my dad was going to shoot himself. I thought, I could be wrong, so it was like last week that I watched it.
Did we think, I thought that was unclear whether Cosmo was going to shoot himself or he was loading the gun to go and shoot.
Oh, maybe that was what he was going to do.
The guy, I don't think Cosmo would. It was a bit unclear, but it was like, he got passed over promotion, came home, loaded the gun. It was as if he was going to go and shoot the, whoever passed him over.
Yeah, maybe that's it. And then the next character we've touched on briefly already is Rebecca, played by Anjali Mohindra. Who like broadly is a great character, you know what I mean? And like a scene that I thought was quite good between those two, when she decides that she wants to go back to work, I initially thought that Martin was going to be, it was blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but he's actually like, all right, well, okay, well, we'll work it out, you know. Now I was thinking to myself, but how much is that him being happy that she's picking up her career again and stuff for her, or how much of it is it because he's not getting this big windfall from the project anymore, and he's not going to make, he kind of needs her really to start kicking in because he's gone over his means with this house and office and everything.
You're right. Initially, I would have thought supportive husband, but as we know about Martin's character, no, you're right. It probably is because he's thinking, right, great, that'll pick up a bit of the shortfall. I can continue to try and go for tenders and stuff and see what happens. Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah, but she's great in it, you know what I mean? Like I've not seen her in a lot of stuff. Oh, well, I think I have seen her in stuff over the years, just in smaller parts. I've never seen her in as big a part as this role that she takes in Fear, and she's a good actor, like a really good actor, especially in the sort of the moments when she's feeling fear or she's threatened or whatever. Like there's no sort of, it's all quite practical. You know what I mean? There's no kind of hysterics. And she's often the kind of voice of mediate, although she's the one who is the most directly creeped out by Jan, because she's the one that's had some soup with him and she's spent a bit of time with him. She's also the one that says, right, well, let's think it through. Let's be calm, blah, 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 blah. And even when Jan sort of steps things up in his little campaign with a letter and everything, she's still, whilst Compton is becoming emotional and losing his temper and everything, she's still the one that's like, she's dragging him away from the kids to talk about it, and she's, and even when she realizes, what's the kind of breaking point? Is it when she realizes that? No, it's Martin that realizes that all the cameras are being hacked. I can't remember what the breaking point was, but she, when she decides to take the kids away and everything, this is what needs to happen, it's practical, it's
effectively when Jan confronts her in the street with the police.
Oh yeah, and when she's got the kids, the other wee kid was, yes, that's right.
And then Martin comes back, but he's drunk, and she leaves in the morning in terms of like with the kids, and then she calls him and basically says, this is the other thing, you had a voicemail last night.
Oh yeah.
And which is a weird thing, because then when he dials, it says saved message, so you're meant to assume she's listened to that voicemail message when she came down at night, so has heard it, so knows, but then it's never mentioned ever again. That's a weird one.
She sort of lets him off, didn't she?
Yeah, but then the next time you see her is when she's packing the kids in the car, and she's dropped the kids off at school in the morning, she's come back home or has stayed away from the house that day and has thought, I can't take it, I can't stay in this house, so has just decided to pack up the kids and go to Anne's house.
But yeah, she's, of all the characters in it, she's the most sympathetic character I found. Apart from the kids. I mean, I have to say, like, the two young actors playing the kids are great. You know what I mean? It really feels like are they actually brother and sister? I didn't mean to check that. But if they're not, then they do a really good job of pretending to be brother and sister. Yeah. But, it's not until the sort of toward the end of the last episode that maybe you find your sympathies lying in an unexpected place, which we'll get to, obviously. Like she's definitely her and Maureen Beattie, and I agree with what you were saying earlier. I think we could have done with just a wee bit more family history for Martin. You know what I mean? Just a little bit more, just to sort of flesh it out. What is his problem with his dad? Because his dad, like when we see Cosmo on his own and stuff, he's clearly disturbed, right? But we don't, is he disturbed by the loss of his daughter? Is that the main thing? Or is it, the kind of lost relationship with his son, something that he's experienced in these years in the army? You know what I mean? Like, I think Cosmo's fucking great in every scene he's in. For me, I think he's great. But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more exposition as to just why is he so disturbed? If it is because the death of the daughter, then let's go into a bit more detail on that, and rather than just the only scene we get is one we mentioned earlier when he's going to the hospital apparently intending to gun down the doctor.
I guess you're just meant to imply that at the first sign of trouble or danger, his first instinct is to get the gun, because when he's passed over promotion, when Corin dies, and then the situation that unfolds, in the last episode, that's for some reason, and they just pass it off basically as he's ex-military. So that's the reason why. It's like a sweeping generalization, I suppose, of, well, he must be a gun nut. So yeah, for sure. Because I made a note that, let's talk about sort of the character that Cosmo plays. He plays Martin's father. So I made a note that as good as the scenes are when he turns up at the house to help Martin solve this problem that he's having with Jan down the stairs, there's a feeling that Cosmo's been waiting for something like the character's been waiting for something like this. But we've got to stop saying Cosmo because that's the actor's name, not the character's name. But he's been waiting for something like this. You know what I mean? Like he needs this as much as Martin needs it. Because, like his frustration or whatever, the reason he's so disturbed or whatever, this is catharsis. It's solving a problem for his estranged son and gets to shoot somebody to death, right? Yeah. To solve it. And he gets to go to prison quite happily. I'm an old man, I'll go to prison, blah, 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 and I can do this for my son and all this kind of stuff. But again, I think that's why we needed a bit more background on him, because they're without that background, they're quite unusual motivations. It's a very strange thing to leap to. And you're right, you could say he's like, well, I've already lost one child. I don't want to lose you. But Martin's not in a real danger as such. I mean, these claims can be disproved. As we find out, it would have come out anyway. And it's a case of like, well, none of this needed to happen, really. But Cosmo's first instinct is, this man, he doesn't muck around. This man has to die tonight. Yeah. There's no like, well, look, I'll go round and put the shits up him. You know, I'll wave Gunny around and, we'll just get this all sorted. Yeah. No, his first thing is this man has to die.
Yeah, straight to murder.
It stops now. Right now.
Not that.
Needs to be done. You do the deed. I take the blame. I'll come with you. I'll be right there. Or I do everything. Either way, that piece of excrement down there is going to be dead in the next 2 minutes. And I'll go to jail.
Okay, fair enough. Could we not post some dog shit through his letterbox or something first? But no, straight to the killing? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because there's the sense that, because Jan has realised that the fact he's hacked into the cameras and I had no idea it was so easy to hack into devices just by getting into the router, but apparently it is. If you're a Bitcoin expert, you can do it. He realises that's been rumbled. That's kind of the end really for him, and and we find out that there were some steps that he was going to take because he knew that he was unhinged and he had done this similar thing before, and he'd had a really tough upbringing and all this kind of thing. So, it's the fact that Cosmo's character's name is Alan, by the way. The fact that Alan takes the most extreme action and kind of presses Martin into taking the most extreme action is as a jump. Maybe 3 episodes is maybe 1 episode too little for this. Maybe it should have been a 4 or 5 parter maybe, and we could have maybe fleshed it out a wee bit more. Although I was, obviously I'm glad when things are short, obviously, because in both for the podcast and in private. But it's I think just to flesh out these characters, maybe like one more 50-minute episode might have helped us out a bit.
I know what you mean, like, because I was happy as well. It's 3 parts. It seems like a nice kind of I can do that, but I would have liked a little bit more backstory as well. You're right. It's funny because in my notes at the very beginning, I have the cast list and I have written Alan, Cosmo, and throughout the entirety of my notes, he's just Cosmo. Like, I do not mention Alan once. I think it was because I got into the flow of Martin as well, but I did have to stop myself a few times. I did type Compston. But yeah, Compston and Cosmo. But yeah, Alan. So yeah, he decides that just basically this piece of excrement has to die. Well, he won't swear. He's got his principles, but
he's a military man.
He will happily commit murder. And commit murder, of course, of Jan, because it's the only way out. So Jan, played by Solly McLeod. I didn't really know him. He's been in, I think, The Rising and Outlander and House of the Dragon, but I hadn't seen him in anything before.
I didn't recognise him. I watched House of the Dragon because I do like Game of Thrones, and I did enjoy House of the Dragon. And when I read the character that he played, I kind of remembered him. It's a sort of supporting character, but I thought he was excellent in this. Because he does play the part with I guess when we find out the character's history and everything else, the part had to be played quite sensitively. He couldn't just be like the creepy guy down the stairs or the psycho down the stairs or whatever. You know what I mean? So he, especially in the scene with the landlord, and when I think one of the scenes that he has with Martin, I think his last conversation with Martin, when Martin thinks that he's going to do the right thing and he's going to write to the police and say that it was all a mistake, all that sort of stuff. I thought he was excellent in this. Like, really, really good. What did you think of him?
I thought he was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. He just kind of, the way the creepiness just ramped up ever so slightly, and you're thinking, okay, this is where it's going then, because he's very nervous and jittery to begin with, and then you see him with Rebecca when he takes around a lentil soup, and he seems okay, just a bit shy, awkward, and then he pays her a compliment saying, the colour looks lovely on you. Yeah. And, she takes the compliment, oh, thank you, and that's it. Then we see the empty food containers in his flat, and you're like, okay, something's not right here. So you then have the awkwardness of Rebecca trying to return the favour, going round with a vanilla slice, and he's like, I'd invite you in, but because you guess he's living in a bit of a hovel, so he goes out to see her in the garden, and when she's hanging up her silky nightwear, it's when he comes out with you must look lovely in those too, and then just goes back in. And now that's the immediate creepy. You're like, okay, things are getting bad. But then he sends the letter and the flowers. And the letter just kind of goes, to the extreme in terms of saying, I like thinking of you and those things you were hanging up, and I enjoyed licking your vanilla slice. And vanilla slice is what tips Compston over the edge when he's reading the letter.
You took my photo. Can I take yours? You invited me in. And when I said you looked lovely, you said you liked it. So did I. I like watching you. I like thinking of you and those things you were hanging up, and I like sharing secrets with you.
Okay, don't read anymore.
And when I licked your vanilla slice...
I wanted to throw it away, but if the children saw me do it and then they saw me do that and then...
What the fuck is he talking about? What vanilla slice?
Well, he brought me some soup.
And then he's licking your vanilla slice?
Yes, I took him a cake as a gesture.
And this, they can again, I think this is where the script is really quite strong, because, like when we find out that Jan has been physically and emotionally abused all through his young life, and he's prone to having these sort of manic episodes when he, when things can trigger him, like when he hears the kids playing and all that sort of stuff, and when he hears the kids playing with Martin and Rebecca, obviously the noises they're making are bringing back memories of abuse that he suffered. You know what I mean? And with those scenes between him and Rebecca, when you realise that, you sort of realise, well, this is a guy who spends most of his time by himself. The only people that we see him talk to, apart from Martin and Rebecca are when he meets his landlord at the laundrette and when he talks to somebody on the phone about the Bitcoin business that he's involved in. So he's obviously somebody who doesn't, at the very least, doesn't have great social skills when it comes to talking to women. No. And maybe is not in the vicinity of a lot of women, it's particularly attractive women like Rebecca. So you're sort of presented with this kind of tragedy at the end when you spend most of it sort of wanting, as much as Martin is not a particularly sympathetic character, you still want the situation to stop for the family, right? And you want Jan to be punished for what he's doing and everything else. Maybe not shot to death, but you want him to be punished. And when the story confronts you with this big part of Jan's character, you're kind of, it does sort of bring out a fairly surprising, sympathetic reaction, and that's from his performance. I think that's from Solly McLeod's performance, that draws that out
completely. When it's the end and it gets read out in court, his background, and instantly you're like, oh fuck, and you're never sure what's going on with the character. Something's not right because of the way he's reacting to the kids screaming and playing, and you can see how things could be misconstrued from his point of view in terms of, there is a lot, the kids made a lot of noise, but yeah, it's done quite carefully in a way when they're saying about, getting in the bath and about paying them £10 and things like that. So you can kind of see how he's maybe got that.
No, you're not going anywhere because they're on their way. They're coming now, so you have to stay where you are.
What are you doing? Get away. Why are you even here? You've left.
Child abuser!
What?
This woman interfered with those two girls just now.
What?
Don't worry, I've reported her. The police are coming. Here they are. You're okay. You're okay now.
Stop it! Why are you doing this? Why?
I have to.
What? You send me love letters and then you do this?
Okay. When you do things...
You do not accuse me again, do you?
She was making them take their clothes off and do things.
Oh my God.
They were screaming, they were going, ow, 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 and ow, ow, ow.
There's even one point, and I don't think Jan's there at the time, but it's just after Jan's gone back in the beginning, after the pizza. And Martin and Rebecca are talking in the garden, and the kids are just there. And they say basically like, oh, get an early night, clearly implying they're going to have sex. And it cuts to the two kids looking at each other and giggling. And I'm like, that's out of place. How, what? It's almost like the kids have been like reacting to like, hey, they're going to get down and dirty tonight. So, we'll have to. That seemed very odd to me. But I can see, and at one point I did think, because of some of the clips and the way it was playing, and obviously they were the triggers for Jan, I did think for a second he was going to like put together a tape of, the kind of doctor the worst bits and then hand that to the police. But he does go to the police and writes a letter and puts it through their door saying that they're abusing the kids and doing these unspeakable things. And it's true, that is kind of every parent's nightmare in terms of something like that happening. You're just do your best. And I think Rebecca brings it up perfectly when, Martin's gone to child services and she's trying to explain, she's saying like, what are they going to think like when the kids sometimes get into bed with us? And like when we have no clothes on, or we get in the bath together. And it makes you think like, that's just a minefield, something that's so innocent and sweet with your child. And it can be twisted in such a way.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, like, we do, there are a couple of moments that when we see Jan, particularly just before he confronts Rebecca, when he is genuinely, he's coming from a place of genuine concern because he's panicking and he's sweating and all that kind of thing. And there's a few moments as well when he's just hearing what's going on upstairs and we see him react that way. And it's, it's coming from a genuine, albeit misguided and incorrect, but it's coming from like a genuine place of what's going on up there because of what he suffered himself when he was younger. But yeah, I guess it is like for any parent, it's an absolute nightmare, that happening because, I guess the social services or whoever it is, they're, whether it's an incorrect or a false accusation or an accurate one, their priority is going to be we need to make sure the kids are safe, which means speaking to the kids without the parents being there and whatever. And that's, that must be a fairly horrible thing to experience for a parent, particularly, especially when there's nothing, nothing like that has gone on. It's all been a misunderstanding.
I think absolutely horrifying thing and the worst thing you could possibly imagine to accuse somebody of. And it must have been such a fear of like, what the hell? How's it come to this? What are we going to do? And then obviously you can't talk to him because he's never answering the door. You can't threaten him in any way. Martin does lose his temper at one point and bangs a plant pot. And, thankfully the same police officers turn up. And I thought that was they were great with him in terms of basically just calm down. All right, like, we won't take this any further, but just go in and shut up. And I think that could have got a lot worse, I suppose. But Jan lives a very simple life. We see his kitchen. He hasn't got much in it, not much furniture, but he's got a fucking arcade machine in his lounge.
He's obviously done pretty well off the old Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, it looked like, I don't know, was it asteroids or something? I don't know, but it looked like it just said arcade, but I wasn't sure what it was. If you were to have an arcade machine, what one would you have?
Street Fighter 2, probably. Or the old Atari X-Wing fighter attacking a Death Star game with the kind of green lines and all that from the early 80s, because that's a belter. But you said something, and I made a note here to ask you about this. So, you said there's that fear of the kids thing. So obviously the program is called Fear. But, I was thinking, so what are we to take? What are we to interpret the title of Fear? What is it applied to in the story? Because there's a few options. Is the fear Jan's fear because of what's happened to him in the past, what he thinks is going upstairs, his fear for the kids? Is it the fear of Martin and Rebecca? This fear of, perhaps ultimately losing custody of their kids, like whether temporarily or permanently. You know what I mean? That's it's quite interesting, and I think maybe you're just supposed to draw your own conclusions. But what did you think? I
think it's definitely triple layered. It is initially you're thinking it's the fear of the parents, Martin and Rebecca. It's exactly as you've said of what's going to happen and losing the kids, because they are scared and they are terrified of what's going to happen. Then I think it's exactly as you've said as well, Jan and the fear he had. So I think it's very double layered there. They're both going through fear. And as we see in the last episode, Cosmo's obviously fearful of losing a bullet because he's unloading and loading that gun and counting his bullets all the time. It's all he's ever doing.
Cosmo's fear that he's going to die without getting a chance to fucking shoot somebody. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I think the title works on both those levels in terms of it's the fear of Martin and Rebecca, but it is also Jan's fear. So, and I think that's why it flips. And at the end, it's Jan that you're feeling sorry for, without a doubt.
Right. Yeah. Interestingly, I mean, this based on a story called Fear by, I think, maybe a Dutch or maybe certainly Scandinavian writer. German, okay. But the script is written by Mick Ford, who played Archer in Scum. The one that's rebelling against the system by claiming to be Islamic and claiming to be vegetarian, just doing all these things to be a pain in the arse. But I knew that he'd sort of gone behind the camera since he acted in Scum. But it's a good script, right? It's a really good script. I just would have been good to see a wee bit more exposition, perhaps, to build out the characters. And it was good to see Maureen Beattie, because I remember when she was in Casualty. I might have had a bit of a crush on her when I was younger and she was in Casualty, because obviously she was a lot younger then, but she's got like incredibly piercing blue eyes. And her dad, Johnny Beattie, used to present. He was a bit of a celebrity in Scotland in the 80s and before that, before I was born and stuff. But I remember he used to present a quiz show. He ended up being in River City, like toward the end of his career in his life. He was an actor in River City, but he was a sort of contemporary of guys like Ricky Fulton and Stanley Baxter. I always get Stanley Baxter. I always get him and Stanley Baker mixed up. So, but yeah, I'd like to have seen a bit more of her, because I don't think we've had her in anything in the Swally before, have we?
No, I don't think so. No. And similarly, links in very well. Someone else we haven't had much of and has a famous parent is Daniel Portman, who plays his brother Brian. Yeah. Do you know his dies?
I don't remember, but it's Ron Donaghy.
Ron Donaghy.
Because they were both in Game of Thrones. Like Ron Donaghy was in the first 2 series of Game of Thrones, but he played a character called Pod, his son Daniel, and he was in it pretty much all the way through.
Oh, okay. Oh,
and survives, one of the few series 1 characters to survive to the end of the program.
So now it comes, we've had 3 episodes building up this, and how is it going to be solved? Cosmo's first instinct is essentially just, we need to shoot this guy. And they do. They shoot Jan. It's a bit unsatisfying, isn't it? Like, he's put you through hell. Would you not want to draw that out a bit more? Just bang, that's it.
I mean, I never felt like murdering somebody before for so I'm not sure, but I did wonder, the ending of it. So the ending of it, and this is the big spoiler here, folks. So if you but it's not Compston who shoots. We were originally led to believe that it's Compston who shoots Jan, but we find out Cosmo. But we find out toward the very end that it was actually Compston who ran in at the last moment and took the gun from his dad and did the deed. But Cosmo is resolute in taking the blame. And there is like a wee nod to it before they tell you the twist, because after we think Cosmo has shot him, and Martin runs down the stairs, so we're led to think that Martin's ran down the stairs because of the gunshot, and Cosmo is giving the gun a wee clean. And I noticed that, and I thought, that's a bit weird, because he's going to take the blame, and then it becomes clear as to why he's doing that, because Martin's fingerprints are on it. But I did think, what is the... usually there's a bit of a payoff with these things, or a bit of morality or a lesson or whatever, but I'm not really sure how we're expected to feel at the end of this. And maybe that's by design. Maybe we're supposed to feel a bit challenged at the end of it. But basically, the end of it has Martin and Rebecca taking the kids for a walk in Kelvin Grove Park. Rebecca evidently has tippled that because of the way that Martin's behaved, a bit distant, a bit quiet, that he's the one that's done the murder. Mm-hmm. So she kind of tipples that he's the one that's done it. But we're kind of left thinking that she's, she gives his hand a wee hold and stuff, and she's like, it's fine, it'll be all right, and I understand why you did it and everything else. And it's like, well, but what's happened in real terms is like a deeply disturbed victim of abuse who was about to book himself into a clinic to get support because he knew that he was well and truly off the fucking tracks, has been shot to death by a guy driven by ego with a bad temper, and the blame's been taken by another fairly disturbed character. And it's like, well, there's no real morality to it, But maybe we're supposed to be challenged, as I say. I don't know. I
don't know how you're meant to feel at the end, because there's the kind of impact reeling that, Jan was a highly distressed individual. Then there's the reveal that, oh my God, it was Martin that shot him, not Cosmo. And then he confesses, she says she knew. And I think you're meant to think, right, well, that's their lives fucked anyway. So I give it, she'll move out with the kids within 3 months. She'll be shagging David, our boss, within 6 months. Happily ever after. Compston will be swinging by a rope from his ecological place in Reykjavik that he's built.
After he spent all this money on the Gannet with like small measures of wine and big glasses.
That was a tiny portion of wine. I noticed that as well. I was like, that's an awful little shitty glass of Merlot you've got there. Is that for you to taste?
Definitely wasn't a home pour, was it?
No.
But I did read actually the Gannet is unfortunately closing down at the end of this year.
Oh no.
Sadly I saw it when I was looking for stories for this week's episode of the Swally. But again, coming back to Compston pulling the trigger, or Martin rather pulling the trigger, like it's like, well, why does he do that? Because his dad is going off to basically solve his problem for him. And is it that ego coming into it, or that temper coming into it? If anybody's going to fucking shoot this guy, it's going to be me, Is it his ego that's driving that action? Because we see him up the stairs and he's sort of hyperventilating a wee bit and doesn't really know what to do. We're given the impression that when he realizes that his dad is definitely going down the stairs to commit murder. It's like he's sort of paralyzed by his fear, perhaps, or his anxiety. But yeah, he's the one that has to do it, because he could quite easily have just not, right? And let his dad do it and told the truth to the police and everything else. But he's the one that should be in prison.
Again, it's unclear as to whether Cosmo does have the speech with him, in terms of you have to do it. If you don't do it, I'll do it. But, you do it and I'll take the blame. Either way, this piece of excrement dies tonight. And it's very much, I think it is Martin's. It's almost like, I don't know if it's his ego or if it is that he's like, I can't let my dad do this. I've got to be a man. Yeah. And to show him I'm a man and I will kill Jan. Yeah. I am man, I kill Jan. So, yeah, it's very strange. Again, something that could have probably been explored. The more I think about it, I mean, I have written here as well, because obviously we're thinking in terms of expanding it a bit. This plays into a lot of themes as well, this show. But it doesn't explore them enough, I think. Like PTSD, men's mental health, smart devices, listening in, and the paranoia behind that. But and Cosmo and his PTSD and what he's been going through, but it doesn't explore them enough. And it also doesn't explore why Martin is such a dick with anger issues.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe it partly does that with the sort of social climber aspect of his character. He wants to be upper middle, upper class kind of guy. You know what I mean? With the big house and that Mercedes that they drive is a fucking, I don't think an older model, shall we say? But that maybe that is supposed to explain away part of his some of his motivations, perhaps. But I'm not sure. Like, I mean, I do quite like the fact, and again, I think it sort of comes back to the kind of art house cinema feel that quite a lot of this program has, and because a lot of those art house movies, especially some of the sort of classic ones from like the 90s, like The Hain, for example, you do go away from, like, it's like the endings are rarely happy, you know what I mean, or neat endings. Like you do tend to press stop at the end of the movie thinking, fucking hell, you know what I mean? Like, so I did like that element of it, and maybe that's you mentioned that it's kind of European cinema, right? Maybe that's the influence of the German author. You know what I mean? I think maybe in the UK and the US, there's maybe more of a need to have things tied up neatly. Whereas I think the sensibilities in Europe are a little different, right? These guys want you to feel challenged. Stuff like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and stuff like that. They're like the first movie that was remade. It does sort of explain everything away, and it kind of ties everything up. But you're right. If you read the books, there's like the characters, particularly the main character. I mean, the author puts her through absolute fucking hell in that trilogy, and it's not something I think that we're prone to do, like in the UK, or certainly not in the US. In the US, you have to have that Hollywood ending, or you might not get your movie made, right? Your TV show, whatever. I think the last person to do it was David Chase with The Sopranos, and people went fucking mental by that last episode of The Sopranos, because it doesn't, the characters, he leaves you to decide what happens to Tony and Carmela and the family and the other actors. He doesn't wrap it, when we leave The Sopranos, Silvio's in a fucking coma, he's one of the lead actors. We never find out if he survives or not, and that's unusual for particularly American drama. Yeah. So maybe that's why Amazon haven't put this on in other countries. Maybe they're like, our audiences in these other countries aren't going to be able to deal with the ending. I don't know.
Possibly. They just won't understand it or won't get it, or won't enjoy the ending.
They'll be frustrated by it. Did you watch the documentary about David Chase that came out this year?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he gets quite pissed off, if obviously in this he's obviously expecting it because the documentary's about him and the show, but I think if people just come up to him in the street and ask him, I think he get, or You know, I think he gets a bit fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Let's just ended it when we ended it.
Well, I wonder if he does live to regret that decision. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you could be right. That's probably why the way things are left a bit loose. And yeah, I mean, I like that kind of in general, but I felt they could have went into a bit more detail in terms of exploring things. Cosmo is just prolific as ever. Like, he was in this. He was in Night Sleeper, which you still have not
seen
watched
that
it
yet.
No. It's good. Cosmo's great in it. He's been in 3 episodes of Karen Perry, which we seem to be mentioning almost every episode on the podcast now. He was in a show called Hostage with Saran Jones, and he has 4 upcoming projects listed on his IMDb. So he is not slowing down at all.
Certainly not. I mean, how old is Cosmo now? Let's have a quick check. So born in 1947, so he's coming up for 80. Right?
Yeah, well,
right?
78 or something,
Yeah. So he's knocking on 80. But yeah, I love the fact that, because certainly even when we were growing up, he just seems to be in loads of different, just seems to be in the TV or on films all the time. I mean, we're talking about Highlander earlier. He's obviously he's got a great part in Highlander. I mean, I'm just the first paragraph of his Wikipedia, not even his IMDb, is like, known for his character work. He's played supporting roles in films such as Highlander, Braveheart, Trainspotting, Troy, The Chronicles of Narnia, Wonder Woman, Ben-Hur, Sons of Anarchy, Game of Thrones, His Dark Materials. Like, a lot of big, huge fucking franchises there, especially like His Dark Materials and Game of Thrones. And Sons of Anarchy, right? They've massively successful TV programs. And then you've got this adjacent, prolific movie career, and he's in Amazon Prime's Jack Ryan as well, with your man off The American Office, who's married to lovely Emily Blunt.
Oh yeah, John Krasinski.
That's him. Yeah, I like him. Yeah, I like him as well.
Yeah,
he's great. So I like that about Cosmo. And despite being incredibly busy, still has time to record a wee cameo for yours truly. For my birthday.
It's just a wonder of Cosmo. He's just an absolute legend. But yeah, I was just so nice to see that he's still just not slowing down, not stopping, just continue doing stuff. It's brilliant.
I still laugh when I think back to that story we had about him posting his Swiss Army knife because he couldn't take it on the plane.
A right old man thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just always got his Swiss Army knife in his pocket in case he needs to get his wee scissors out, or his wee screwdriver part out, or the wee jaggy blade out or something, or the toothpick.
You never know when you need to open a good old party tin or something if you're out and about.
I didn't realise that his father had been an actor as well. Was the actor James Copeland? How could I not know that about Cosmo? Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
Let myself down a bit by not having that bit of trivia up my sleeve. Anyway, do you have anything else on Fear that you would like to have a chat about?
No, I mean, I think overall I really enjoyed it. I mean, what's the moral of this story? Like, don't let your unhinged, gun-loving dad convince you to shoot your downstairs neighbour who's reported you for sexual offences against your kids. Is that the moral of this story? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe be a bit nicer to your downstairs neighbour just until you find out what kind of person they are. Or
what they've been through. That's a very good point. You shouldn't judge book by its cover, etc., or something along those lines. That's a very valid point. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I've watched it twice now, and enjoyed it both times. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it as well. I really did. It was one of those ones that I would have had liked to have got my good lady wife in to watch as well, because I think she would probably have enjoyed it. But I don't know. She's busy trying to get her business off the ground at the minute. She doesn't have time to watch TV. But anyway, I think it might be one that I might revisit with her when she's got a bit more time. So I think she'll like it.
Yeah, fantastic. Sounds good.
Okay, so it's time to put Fear through our coveted Swally Awards. The first award then, as always, is the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub. I thought the bar in the hotel looked all right. I could see me sitting there for a while having a couple of beers.
Yeah, thought that was all right. I mean, it's that or the Finiston, which looked, I mean, it's a coffee spot by day.
Yeah.
A bar at night, because Anne does say she takes her dates there. Gannet, more of a restaurant, but... Yeah, hotel bar works for me.
Next then is the James Cosmo Award for being everything Scottish. I mean, there can be only one winner there.
Exactly.
It's Captain Cosmo. The Jake McQuillan Your Tea's Out Award. I feel like there's only really one option there as well.
What did you go for?
Jan getting shot in the heart.
Oh, fair enough.
What did you go for?
I went with Martin stamping on that fucking robot. That thing would have been in the bin long before now if I'd been the parent in that house.
If you realised that somebody was spying on you through it, or would just got in your tits with the kids playing with it.
Just get on my tits with the kids playing with it. Isn't it right? An annoying little fucking thing.
Next then is the Francis Begbie Award for Gratuitous Language. My one is, there's a few F's and Jeffs in this, but the one that is Martin's rage manifesting in the shouting of "motherfucker," which... it just doesn't sound right in a Scottish voice, does it? Accent.
No, it's a shame because I've got that as well, but I've got the first part, because when he sees the laptop lights on, it does work in a Scottish accent when he goes, "You fucker."
Yeah.
And then he shouts "motherfucker," which doesn't quite work. He should have, shouted you cunt sack or something. But
cunt sack. Yeah. Next then is the Hugh McGregor Award for Gratuitous Nudity. We do have to see Compston having an angst-ridden shower, could have done without.
He must have just bulked up, and he was, because there's a few shots of him like just out the shower or with his shirt off or in the shower. There's one part where he's just out the shower and he's drying himself and he's talking to Rebecca, and it's very realistic because you could tell the towel, he's like drying right in between his arse crack. The way his hands go in, and I was like, something that's quite. I don't know if that's the way it was intended to look, but it's realistic but he's definitely really going in there to dry. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
I think in the scenes when that scene in particular, like I did think to myself, giving the old pectorials a wee bit of a flex there.
Yeah,
you want us to know that you've been hitting the old gym. Next then is archetypal Scottish moment.
I went with purely Brian speaking about the house and saying how that Martin could have bought 3 or 4 around the parents' area for the price of that. There's just something very Scottish about that. Wanting to save a penny or something, or saying, well, you could have bought this in terms of buying that, guys. But yeah, what about you? What'd you go for? Please don't say child abuse or anything like that.
No, that happens everywhere. I put getting your mad dad sort out your problems.
That's perfect. That is actually the answer. Yeah, getting your mad dad. Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then last then is the Big Tam Award. Who wins Fear for you?
Well, who did you go with for this?
I went with Cosmo. Just because it was good to see him he gets a lot of screen time, and it's good to see him kind of getting into like quite a emotional and sensitive and layered role. It's maybe been a wee while. I think probably the last thing we had him on like that was the spooky one with fucking hell, what's her fucking name? The wee actress that's in Thunderbolts.
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh, yeah, that's when he's playing the sort of mad granda in that, that's a bit more. That's but I think he's better in this than he is in that. It was good. I enjoyed Cosmo in this. I thought he was good. I'd like to have seen a bit more of him in it. In fact, what about you? How'd you go for?
Originally I was like, well, it's kind of Compston's show really. He's in most of it. He is good, but he's just an unlikable character. And then I was like, should I give it to Anjali Mohindra, because she's excellent as well.
She is, yeah.
But I was like, well, no. So I gave it to Cosmo as well. Because he does have a bit of range in terms of showing his emotions, and you're right, like he's happy with the grandkids and he's got his hat and gloves on and stuff. It's funny. And then obviously has the darker side, but yeah, his emotional depth and kind of saves the day, really, depends which way you want to interpret it. So yeah, I gave it to Cosmo. I thought he deserved it.
It's good. And the scene, I think, what is particularly good is where Martin visits him in jail.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Good.
I think they're both great in that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a really, really nice performance from Cosmo there. I feel like I know I made a bit of fun of Compson at the beginning with his beard, but you know, I guess it is something, because I was thinking about it sort of has to do the same thing in Mayflies, because we have to believe that he's kind of close in age to Tony Curran in Mayflies, and I think Curran's a good bit older than Martin Compson, I think.
Yeah.
But he does, you know, when you see him with his beard off, he does have that sort of ever young kind of face, and I always felt a wee bit sorry for him in Line of Duty, because he's up against some great actors in that, and he almost doesn't look old enough to be doing the job that he's doing. He is great in Line of Duty, you know, and particularly good with Vicky McClure, you know, in the scenes of them together. Like, I think they feel really authentic. The relationship between them feels really authentic, like really good. But yeah, I think, you know, I do wonder, don't want to kind of put words in Compson's mouth, but I wonder if maybe the big sort of Peter Sutcliffe beard is to, you know, get to get the kind of roles that he is the right age to play, you know, this sort of mid-30s approaching middle age roles, and not just these sort of young kind of boyish roles, you know.
The fucking Peter Sutcliffe beard. Jesus Christ. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. It suits him though. So
it does suit him. Yeah, it does suit him.
I guess, yeah, it shows that he's adaptable and he can play young as well. But yeah.
He's a great actor, Martin Compson. He's a great actor.
Yeah, he's really great. Good. Yeah.
And a good egg by all accounts as well. What I read about him, he's he seems like a good down to earth chap.
Well, that was Fear, the 3-part drama available on Amazon Prime, but maybe not in every country, so I don't know. You can find it where you can.
I think you can rent it off Apple if you need to, probably.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah,
there's other means that we can point in the direction of if you write to us privately as well.
So Fear was my choice, Craig. So it's your choice in the next episode of The Swally. So why do you tell us what we're going to be talking about then?
Well, I've gone for a classic, and a classic that's nearly as old as our favourite Scottish actor.
Oh.
On the next episode, I'm taking us back to cover the oldest thing we've ever covered, back to 1949, and the classic Ealing comedy, Whiskey Galore.
Oh, wow.
Exclamation mark. With a whole host of actors that I'm pretty sure will be making their Swally debuts, like Gordon Jackson and Basil Radford and Joan Greenwood. I haven't seen Whiskey Galore since I was a wee boy. I remember watching it with my granny. So I'm really looking forward to revisiting it and talking about it with you on the next episode of Culture Swally.
I'd be the same. It'd be a very, very long time since I've seen that film. So yeah, I'll look forward to watching that. Fantastic. Yeah. Wow. We're going to go old school. Whiskey Galore on the next episode of Swally.
Gentle post-war comedy.
Lovely. My favourite kind. Well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can. You can email us cultureswally@gmail.com. Any recommendations, any news stories, or if you just want to say hello. And similarly, give the little podcast a little rating, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Insta @cultureswallypod, and we have a wonderful website as well, don't we, Greg?
We do indeed. You can find us at cultureswally.com, where there's links to all our socials, links to all our episodes, and blog posts and articles about Scottish television and film. So come and give us a wee bit of traffic. Try and update it this week.
Fantastic. Well, obviously you're invested in the Aberdeen game tonight, but I presume you won't be staying up to watch it.
It's a bit late. It doesn't kick off until 11:15 here, so it's a wee bit late. But I'll be checking as soon as I open my eyes in the morning and keeping my fingers crossed for a victory for the Dandy Dons.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm sure now we have your blessing. We will pull off a victory, but I doubt it. Never mind.
I always root for the Dons these days. So
good lad. Thank you very much. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Greg. Until next time.
Oh. What's that then?
Is he dead?
Oh, yeah. Call the police.